Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor and I'm a Sony Imaging Ambassador, and I'd like to talk to you about Sony's lens lineup. Now, with over 70 E-mount lenses, one might think that it's probably a complete lens lineup, but I know a lot of you are waiting for one more lens that maybe fits a need that you haven't currently found in your own lens lineup yet. Okay, so that is the purpose of this video, is to try and identify some gaps in Sony's lens lineup that I personally would like them to fill in the months or years to come. First off, I'm not adverse to using a big, heavy prime lens. This is Sony's excellent 135 f1.8 G Master. It's nearly an optically perfect lens, and for many instances when I'm going out for 2 or 3 hours to shoot an event, this is a lens that's going to go into my messenger bag, perhaps with another couple of primes and another body, etc. So I'm not adverse to using these f1.8, 1.4, 1.2 lenses. Another firm favorite is Sony's 35mm G Master, their f1.4. I do like to get some good figure ground separation when working with a wide angle lens, especially when I'm in amongst crowds. But of course, this wasn't the original intention of perhaps Sony's full frame mirrorless lens lineup. When they first arrived, they arrived with a couple of lightweight primes, which I'll highlight now. These are the 55mm 1.8 Zeiss design lens and also the 35mm f2.8 Zeiss. Now we can just see that if optical performance and wide aperture isn't the primary function of that meets your needs, if it's more to do with weight and size, you can see the original 35mm f2.8 ticks pretty much every box. It is still perhaps their smallest and lightest full frame lens that they're currently offering at just a couple of ounces, and you can see how small and lightweight that is compared to their 1.4. Yes, we're giving away 2 stops, and that is how we build typically smaller and lighter lenses. But it is in this small compact lens lineup that I want to explore perhaps where there are a couple of gaps to date. So let's take a look. Now, my interest in creating a full frame compact lens lineup certainly arrived with the Alpha 7C camera. It even launched with a compact zoom. This is their 2860. It's quite a sharp kit lens, and so for many people they stick with this. But of course it's not quite wide enough for some and not long enough for others. And so adding maybe an ultra wide angle prime and a short telephoto prime completes that kit for many photographers. And where I was pleased to see Sony launch a few lenses a year or 2 back was in this compact concept to maybe support users who are hand-holding cameras, maybe vlogging, maybe owners of the Alpha 7C camera. So we got 3 new G lenses, the 24 f2.8 and then the 40 and 50mm 2.5 lenses. Now just bringing down from 1.8 to 2.5 as your maximum aperture allowed Sony to make these lenses much smaller than what we were seeing with their f1.8 offerings. And this is of great interest to some photographers and for myself. Now, I am prepared to go out with the bigger lenses, but in some trips where I'm gone for quite a while and I'm just working from a small lightweight messenger bag, size and weight of gear now becomes the primary criteria. Yes, I don't get the shallow depth of field so easily, but often my subject is in the foreground, and I can just step closer to decrease that depth of field and get figure ground separation. Anybody who's working maybe with an 85mm focal length probably knows with a head and shoulder portrait, when you get in that close, you're still going to blur that background. You don't always need that f1.8 aperture. So it's in this area that I would like to maybe explore the lens lineup and where maybe there is a potential gap. So the first one is that wider than 24mm focal length. Now, I'm a big fan of Sony's f1.8 20mm G lens. It is a great lens. It's built like it's a G Master, performs optically almost perfectly again, and it's not considered to be a big heavyweight lens, except if you've got a second body and you've got 3 other lenses, maybe your lens bag is getting a little bit crowded, and so that's where we go shopping for maybe something lighter, smaller. Another area of concern for some people who are maybe using active steady shot, obviously you lose a little bit of the angle of view, so your 20mm is no longer 20mm. 20mm is pretty much wide enough at 20 for hand holding the camera at arm's length and talking to camera. But if you're going to use active steady shot and the new dynamic active steady shot that we've seen on the ZV-E1, which crops in even more, that 20mm is now struggling to be wide enough for some people's purposes. It's also a little bit heavy if you've got it stuck to a full frame camera at arm's length. And so when I was doing some vlogging last year, I was using Sony's APSC lens, their 11mm f1.8 lens. Now it is a great lens, but it is APS-C. It has an equivalent angle of view as a 16.5mm full frame ultra wide angle lens. And so if we're vlogging in an active steady shot, this is wide enough for speaking to camera. It's also wide enough, I think, and small enough and light enough for many Alpha 7R Alpha 1 owners who are maybe doing some ultra wide landscapes but didn't want to take 16 to 35 G Master lens. Typically when I'm shooting landscapes, ultra wide landscapes, I'm only cropping very slightly in post-production to straighten a slightly crooked horizon. So if I'm shooting with an Alpha 7R4 or Alpha 7R5 camera, I'm still shooting at 26 megapixels, which is more than enough resolution in 99% of instances. So that 11mm has been going on tour with me for more than a couple of events. Now, for people who don't want that crop factor, that 1.5 times crop factor, there is other offerings out there. And this is obviously highlights the gap in Sony's own lens lineup. For instance, there is this little small lightweight Samyang 18mm 2.8. Now Zeiss also have an 18mm 2.8, but it's significantly bigger than this little Samyang that I've got here. Now I'm not saying this Samyang is going to be sharper and optically as perfect as Sony's 20mm or the Zeiss Batis, but it does serve a function for a lot of photographers looking for a lightweight, ultra wide angle prime that they can handhold on at arm's length on a camera, such as Sony's ZV-E1 camera. So this is certainly an area that I've identified as a little gap in Sony's lens lineup, is to create maybe an ultra wide angle full frame prime, maybe 2.8 aperture that is half the size and weight of their current 20mm f1.8G. So that's the first gap in Sony's lens lineup that I've identified that I'd like Sony to fill in the near term. Another one is the 85mm portrait prime. Now again, I don't classify this as a heavy lens. It's quite a compact 85mm f1.8. And again, this Sony 85mm is fast focusing. It produces pleasing bokeh. It's very sharp, wide open. So what's there not to like? But of course, there are smaller, lighter offerings out there if weight and size now is your primary criteria. So I've identified 2. Now I've already reviewed the Sigma 90mm f2.8 full frame lens. Now of course, so with that 2.8 aperture, Sigma have managed to build this smaller and lighter. You can see the front element of that Sigma is much smaller, hence we can build a lighter weight lens. Now it's a full metal construction on this Sigma, so it feels surprisingly heavy in the hand, but it is not only smaller, but it is also lighter than Sony's offering. Now if you don't want to compromise on the aperture, there is an f1.8 smaller lens than Sony's 85, and again it's a Samyang, because Samyang did create a tiny series of lenses, and this is their 75mm f1.8, and again you can see the larger front elements compared to the Sigma offering there. Now it is a lightweight construction, not a full metal construction, which allows them to create it lighter and smaller than Sony's offering. So again, I'm not going to say it's as optically perfect as the 85G Master or even the 85mm Sony, but again, it's going to be sharp enough for many users, and where weight and size is the primary criteria, this again may be of interest to some owners. And again, it's the second lens I've identified that I'd like to see Sony work on for a light compact portrait prime. And I think what I'd like to see is sort of an extension of their compact series. So yes, we have a 24, a 35, a 40, a 50, but I'd like to see something wider, and now something also a short telephoto, a portrait prime, even if we have to go down to 2.8 to get that small compact size. Okay, so the next lens that I've identified as a gap in Sony's lens lineup, but in fact all manufacturers' lens lineup, is that slightly longer 135mm focal length. Now again, I'll bring back the Sony 135G Master, which again is a stellar lens, so no criticism against this for optical performance. And this is probably as small and lightweight that you can build a premium 135 f1.8 fast focusing lens. But of course, we do have smaller options from Zeiss. They've created a 2.8 135. This is also a very sharp lens, fast focusing. It's got steady shot inside, which isn't advertised on the outside, but Zeiss assure me that it does. And you can see it's smaller, but it's not significantly smaller and lighter than the Sony. So yes, we've shaved off some weight, but I'm thinking we could shave off even more, especially if we drop down to f4. Now, for many people, if you're able to approach your subject with a 135 f4, you're still going to get a healthy amount of figure-ground separation, background bokeh. So what I'm thinking is I would like to see maybe someone create a 135 that's maybe as small and lightweight as a lens such as this. This is just used as an example. It's an APS-C 55-210, but I'm thinking if we can use an f4 aperture, again we can reduce the size of the front element and reduce the lens, so it's perhaps half the weight of these 135s that we're looking at on that table. Okay, so that's the third lens that I've seen identified, and I'd welcome any manufacturer to take the bait on this one, is where are those ultra light 135 primes? Okay, so I'll just highlight another lens before I sign off, and it's in their APS-C lens lineup. Now, when we got the Alpha 6600 in 2019, we got an excellent constant f2.8 16 to 55 zoom. It is pin sharp and it's a great zoom. We also got an excellent, very sharp G lens, which is this 70 to 350, which has a full frame equivalent reach of 105 to 525, but we don't have that constant wide aperture. And when we are shooting in APS-C mode and we're sort of zooming in on the noise, if you like, we're also probably struggling at f6.3 maximum aperture at that 350mm to suppress noise in camera without using post-production software to suppress that noise for us. So what I'd like to see is maybe a 55 to 210, but with an f4 or 2.8 aperture. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be much smaller than this. We just need a wider aperture on that choice there, especially if Sony are going to build on their APS-C lens lineup in future years. So let me pull the Alpha 6600 up. Now, the form factor of APS-C is a draw card for many photographers. Now, often we can get what we need with those shorter focal lengths with a full frame camera such as the Alpha 7C. I think there's only 8 grams in weight difference between the 6600 and the Alpha 7C. But really, when we're starting to get those telephoto zooms, that's where the APS-C users get the advantage. Is, as you can see, that's an equivalent lens almost to Sony's full frame 200-600, which also has an f6.3 maximum aperture at the full zoom. So we are going to get an advantage using APS-C on those longer telephoto reaches. But again, there's some gaps in Sony's own lens lineup. We haven't seen a lot of primes launched into Sony's APS-C lens lineup for a number of years. Okay, so here is Sony's excellent 15mm f1.4G lens. Now, this was a premium ultra wide angle lens released by Sony. We also got that 11mm, which is also pin sharp corner to corner. We also got an excellent G power zoom 10-20, but Sony sort of stopped at the 15mm focal length, and really I'm looking for some wide aperture primes that are longer than 15mm. Now, a lot of people who are Alpha users in this A6000 range of cameras have turned to Sigma to get their ultra wide apertures, and the one that I'm most interested in using to get that portrait prime shallow depth of field look is, yes, we have a Sony 50mm f1.8. But if you want something slightly sharper and with a slightly wider aperture, then a lot of Sony users and owners turn to the Sigma 56mm f1.4 offering. So again, just because this is an exceptionally popular lens for APS-C users, this is signals a lens that is missing in Sony's own lens lineup. And again, if Sony start putting some more attention into their APS-C lens lineup, I would like to for Sony to also add some additional primes into this lens lineup, notably maybe a 35mm f1.4, a 55 f1.4, and maybe something even a little bit longer to give us that APS-C equivalent of that 135. Okay, so I think I've pretty much identified my own lenses that I would like to see Sony work on. I dare say you have your own ideas, and I know a lot of people have been also waiting, for instance, for a 300mm f2.8 prime, which Sony have also promised us in the years to come. So I dare say you've got your own ideas. Just jot them in the information below, and I'll be interested to see what you're also waiting for. Okay, I'm Mark Gaylor, Sony Imaging Ambassador. If you've enjoyed the information in this video tutorial, just give me the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. If you're looking for ongoing support and I can be a mentor to you in your Sony Alpha journey, just head over to patreon.com/Mark Gaylor. I've got Q&A forums, I've got member-only seminars, which are typically 1 and 2 hour videos on particular topics of photography. I've also got cam set files you can download. This means you can set up your entire camera from a file copied to a memory card, and then it would replicate how I've set up these cameras as outlined in these 500 and 600 page ebooks that patrons are welcome to download from my Patreon channel.